Our next group of items from this, oops, are some additional inheritance concepts. So we've gotten pretty good at using inheritance. I've been very impressed with the way people have been making use of inheritance on their final projects so far, in labs and in other projects. I feel like everybody's doing a good job from what I've been poking around of trying to make good use of interfaces, abstract classes, a nice inheritance hierarchy, removing your replicated code, all that kind of stuff. But there are some things that come up when you're using inheritance that we haven't talked about yet. One of which is, what about access control when you're doing overriding? Yeah, this will be the last thing we'll have time for today. So I've got a repository here, and I'm going to clone a copy of it quickly. You can either clone your own copy now, or just follow along with me and take a look at it later if you're interested. All right, so here in override access control, let me open it in my editor. I've got class A with 4 methods defined. They are totally meaningless. This is just a demonstration of what can happen. So class A has methods M1, M2, M3, and M4. Each of them returns an int, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But each one has a different protection level. So public, anybody can call public. Protected, anybody can call protected as long as they are within my package, or they are classes that are derived from me, even if they're in other packages. Default protection, when I don't put anything there, is package level protection. So that means anybody can call this if they're in the same package as me. And then private means only other methods of class A can call this. Nobody else can call it. Even if I have an instance of class A, I can't call it unless I'm inside of another method of class A. Familiar stuff there. Well, how do those different protection levels play when you add inheritance to the mix? So now here in class B, I'm overriding each of these methods with another version of the method that returns a number 10 larger than the original. I'm not actually going to run this, so who cares what they actually return. And this is allowed as we have it here. I'm allowed to override M1, which was public in A, with a public method in B. I'm allowed to override M2, which was protected in M2, with a public method in M2, in B rather. And my default protection method, M3, can also be overridden by a public method here in class B. Well, the private method, M4, if I put this override notation here, we'd see that it doesn't actually override it because method M4 is private. Nobody can see it except other methods of A. So B does not even have any idea that an M4 exists in class A. So M4 is its very own method here. So if I try to compile this thing does compile. If I took this out, it would not compile because there is no public, or there's no visible to B version of method M4 that I can override at this point. So I'll say this method does not override or implement a method from the supertype. So let's get rid of that. Now the question, and you see the main method doesn't even do anything. We're just dealing with, does this compile kinds of things. Now suppose that I decide in class A, M1 was public. I don't want it to be quite that available from my class B. This one is a method that I'd like to put a few more restrictions on. This would be not allowed. So it says that, let's reread it. M1 in B cannot override M1 in A because you cannot assign weaker access privileges. So think about what that means. It means if I have a class B and it extends A, any methods that are in B have to be at least as accessible as A because I can treat my class B as a class A. So A instances, references to an A, which could be a reference to a B or just a regular old A, need to be able to know, can I call M1 or not? So what we're allowed to do in, in derived classes is to make things less restrictive. So for example, M3 had default protection up above, and here I was allowed to make it public. I can make it public, I can make it protected, and it's okay. So let me put that back the way it was. This is just one of those, our 5 minutes on this, 5 minutes on that topics, just as something for you to be aware of. Not something that would not be an example of a thing that I would say is an exam question. That is just one of the, and let's be aware of the fact that you can change the protection levels as you override methods, but only in ways that make it less restrictive.